Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we will study Unit 2 of Block 6 from MEG 4 Aspects of Language, which is Speech, Community and Multilingualism. In today's video, we will know what a speech community is, why defining it is not as easy as it seems, and how multilingual societies challenge the traditional definition, and finally, how language shapes our identity within society. Before understanding a speech community, let us first understand the word community. A community is simply a group of people who share certain characteristics. These shared characteristics may include customs, manners, food habits, dressing style, belief systems, traditions and values. Because of these common characteristics, members feel that they belong to the same group and are different from other groups. Communities are formed on different bases. One important basis is religion. For example, we often speak of the Hindu community, the Christian, etc. Another basis is occupation. People may belong to the business community, the farming community, the shepherd community, and so on. So religion and occupation have traditionally been important ways of identifying communities. But linguists ask different question. Can language itself bring people together into a community? Just as religion and occupation unite people, language also creates a sense of belonging. People who communicate through a common language often develop similar ways of speaking, communicating and interacting. This idea leads us to one of the most important concepts in social linguistics, that is the speech community. The term speech community is probably derived from the German word Sprachgemeinschaft, meaning a community of speakers who share certain linguistic features and who might be said to speak the same language, dialect or variety. Now, as given by John Lyons and Charles Hockett, a speech community is a group of people who share a common language and communicate with one another using that language. And also John Gumpers has also added other two definitions to it, that is frequent interaction and communication happening within a speech community, and also a sense of belonging that distinguishes the group from others. Now, combining these three, we can say there are three important features which defines a speech community, that is a common language, frequent interaction and communication, and a sense of belonging that distinguishes the group from others. However, there are problems related to this definition. The first one is a common language, that is the same language which the people use form a speech community. But this idea works only for very small localized communities. For example, it may apply to small tribal groups living in isolation from rest of the world. These communities usually live in one geographical area, use the same language, have very little variations in speech and are relatively uniform socially and linguistically. Uniform socially means having same social class, same dressing style or same customs and traditions. All these, they are uniform, even linguistically as well. No variations in languages or dialects, etc. You can say it's a homogeneous group. The members of such group may truly speak the same language. However, when we look at major world languages such as English, Hindi or French, the situation becomes very different. Their speakers are spread across different regions and even different countries. Moreover, these speakers belong to different social classes and use different dialects and varieties. Therefore, speaking the same language alone cannot define a speech community. The best example is English speech community. English is spoken in Britain, America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, India and many other countries. Within Britain itself, we find Yorkshire English, Scottish English, Irish English, Standard British English, and many regional as well as social varieties. Similarly, English spoken by the upper class differ from English spoken by the middle class or lower class. For example, Cockney variety which was spoken by Eliza in the play Pygmalion by Chibi Shaw. Now this clearly shows that one common language does not necessarily mean one speech community. The second characteristic says frequent interaction which is happening within a speech community. Again, this may be true for a small village, but can millions of Hindi speakers spread across India and the world around interact regularly? Certainly it is impossible. Hindi speakers living in Delhi, Kerala or the United States cannot communicate with each other on a regular basis. Therefore, frequent interaction cannot be an essential characteristic for every speech community. The third characteristic says that members should identify themselves as belonging to one community. But identity is not fixed. A person may identify as a Yorkshire speaker, a British English speaker and an English speaker at the same time. Similarly, many Indians identify with Hindi, English and their regional language simultaneously. So people often belong to more than one speech community. So if the traditional definition has all these limitations, how do sociolinguists explain multilingual societies like India? This brings us to the next concept, that is a bilingualism or multilingualism, and the notion of speech community. The speech community can be better understood through its verbal repertoire. A verbal repertoire is the total collection of languages, dialects, styles, registers and language varieties available to the members of a speech community. It is important to remember that every member does not know every language equally well. For example, one person may know Hindi, English, Urdu and Punjabi. Another may know only Hindi and English. Someone else may know only Hindi. Even though their linguistic abilities differ, they still belong to the same speech community because they share parts of the community's verbal repertoire. Therefore, a speech community is better understood by looking at the entire range of linguistic resources shared by its members rather than by a single language. Now, if speech communities are multilingual and individuals possess different verbal repertoires, how does the individual identify himself or herself with the speech community? The individual's linguistic identity is not fixed. It changes according to place, situation and interaction. For example, a taxi driver from Yorkshire. He initially speaks the Yorkshire dialect and belongs to Yorkshire speech community. After moving to London, he learns Cockney English and becomes associated with the Cockney speech community. Later, he learns Standard British English. Now, the same individual belongs to 3 speech communities. Which identity he emphasizes depends on whom he is speaking to and in what situation. Now, another example is that of Santali speaker. The person's first language is Santali. Later, he or she learns Standard Hindi and eventually English. As a result, the individual becomes part of Santali, Hindi and English speech communities. So, these examples clearly shows that individuals constantly are redefining their linguistic identities and relocating themselves to this or that speech communities, whether it is local, regional, national and even international speech communities. We can say an individual's linguistic identity is dynamic, flexible and constantly changing. So to conclude, a speech community is formed by language, interaction and a feeling of belonging. That is common language, interaction and feeling of belonging. These 3 traditional factors have limitations or drawbacks. In multilingual societies, people have a verbal repertoire of different languages and varieties. Individuals belong to more than one speech community. Membership is dynamic and flexible. The speech community is complex, multidimensional and a social phenomenon. So, hope you understood this explanation. Thank you for watching this video. And if you found this video useful and helpful, please do like, share and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.